Thee do we serve, and thee do we seek for help. O Allah, guide us on the right path, the path of those whom thou hast bestowed favor. Not of those whom thy wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray if they have heard thy teachings.
I mean, so here we go with the 19th element.
Good. The whole wide world to tell, our God has come to give us heaven and take the devil into. Platinum rings, sugar kings, LY.
Just the volume, turn up the sound. You can believe it, listening now. I'm Minister God, teacher and friend. Let the world know we back again. The sun never set in a nation of gods. The moon, the stars, all inside. Align with his mind and reclaim your power. Let that be the shock of the hour.
All praises be to Allah, Brother Abdul Malik Muhammad, Chief Malvana. We got Dr. Ali up with the 19th element. Y'all already know what time it is. Put your helmet on, put your belt, buckle your seatbelt, because you know how we get down. He wants all the smoke. So let's get it done.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. This is the 19th element. This is the second half of the survival show. You know what happens on Tuesdays at this same time. That's the Your Immunity Project. And we've been on the theme, the immunization of a nation. But now, on the 19th element, we deal with war and peace issues, geostrategic issues, and the theme for the last, almost 3 months now has been the world at war. World gone crazy. World gone broke. Then we added the world gone for broke. And now, here we are on April Fool's Day, and I hope nobody's fooling you, and I hope you're not fooling anybody. But we have the president coming on the air tonight about 9 a.m., and he's going to address the American people. And we'll see who's a fool on this April Fool's Day. But we would have to say that if we wanted to extend our theme, a world at war, world gone crazy, world gone broke, world gone for broke, hey, the world is broke. Let me declare on the first day of April 2026 that this world that we have known is broke, not just financially broke, but the entire system that used to operate the world according to a certain fashion, maybe not to our liking, but whatever it was, whatever that was, it's done for. It's finished. It's kaput. And so that's what we want to take a look at. Now, normally we can kind of trace a theme. We have a certain focus on a certain issue. But I think tonight we're going to be all over the place because everything in the world is a mess and everything is all over the place. And your mind and your emotions, everything about your life is topsy-turvy. Haven't you noticed? Helter-skelter, kaleidoscopic, almost psychedelic changes taking place so that the world that we live in, the community that we live in, the government that we have, the communities that we have, even sometimes the friendships and the relationships that we once have had, hey, a lot of those things are being disrupted and it's just the nature of the time in which we live. And so we want to take a look at the issues. Now, of course, the primary focus is where it should be. The center of attention is on Iran and the aggressive war waged by two nuclear powers against the Islamic Republic of Iran. And we know the history of Iran going back 5,000 years, better known in history as the Persian Empire, existed in that area. Iran, the name itself, is a contraction of the name Aryan. And of course, Aryan refers to the Caucasian white people, better known in Western Europe. But some of the Caucasian, they migrated to the east. And then they descended out of the mountain ranges onto a mountainous plateau known as Persia, and now today known as the Islamic Republic of Iran. And just for perspective, Iran is as big as Western Europe. It's a huge country. That makes it, it's 4 times as big as California. So when you hear people talking, we're going to take Iran with 10,000 troops. See, April Fool's Day got you again, didn't they? You took that seriously. See, so Iran is a very significant country. Geographically, it kind of is the linchpin between Europe and Asia. And that's why, as a part of the BRICS movement, the Belt and Road Initiative started by Russia and China, it's the keystone, because all of the goods coming out of China from the east, traveling by high-speed rail and also by ship, it all meets in Iran. Iran is the hub. And then from that hub, it can go further to the west into the Middle East, as they call it, the Holy Land. It can take a bend south into Africa. And of course, it can take a bend north along the Caspian Sea into Russia, and then on into Western Europe. So basically, the Belt and Road Initiative is not possible if Iran is destroyed. China and Russia, India, and the global south, as they call it, these nations are dependent upon a new world order, but that new world order is based on the success of the Belt and Road Initiative, the new Silk Road, if you will. And so that's why the whole world is focused on what's happening in Iran. Because if Iran falls, then the Belt and Road Initiative is going to not succeed. And the global south will be locked into at least another century of neo-colonialism. In other words, the fall of Iran would mean that Iran would become a colonial subject to Israel and America. And if Iran can be subjugated and made a colony, a vassal state, then it means Africa doesn't have a chance. South American countries don't have a chance. You see the threats against Cuba. You saw what happened in Venezuela. You see the threats against Colombia. You see the bombing of Nigeria. You see the bombing of Somalia almost on a daily basis. The bombing of Sudan almost on a daily basis. And so Iran is the hope of the world. If the Islamic Republic of Iran cannot survive, then the devil will have his way. So let's take a look at our images. And they're going to be all over the place. And I'm going to try to connect as many dots as I can. And I'm going to try to get finished before 9 o'clock. Because I want to hear what this lunatic in the White House has to say. Now, that's Mojtaba al-Khamenei, the son and the new Ayatollah of Iran. And basically, he has been a figure powerful within the Iranian Republican Guard. And so, although he is the spiritual leader of Iran, the supreme leader, they call him. He's also the military leader. So he's after the character of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam, who not only was a prophet of God, but he also led the army in battle. He was a warrior. Prophet Muhammad picked up the sword. And so the elder Khomeini, may Allah be pleased with his soul, had issued a fatwa, a religious edict against nuclear weapons. And they're wondering whether the sun will reverse that fatwa and go ahead and develop nuclear weapons. Well, I think what they're showing the world is that they don't actually need nuclear weapons to defeat the nuclear power of America and Israel. So now, basically, Iran is following Islamic rules of war. Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, and Donald Trump, they said they don't follow international law. They don't follow the laws of war. They don't believe in the Geneva Conventions. Just the mere fact that Donald Trump says that he does not believe in international law, don't you know that in and of itself is a crime? When Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, says that they are ruthless, without mercy, and show no quarter, don't you know just to say that is a crime? Just to say that is a violation of international law. Much less to do it. So Iran has been showing a tremendous amount of restraint because they are the Islamic Republic of Iran. And as Muslims, they always seek the peaceful way out, unless it's unavoidable. But then if it isn't avoidable, then retaliation is prescribed. And so here's a man whose father was murdered in cold blood. His mother was murdered. His wife was murdered. His daughter was murdered. His brother-in-law was murdered. And some say he himself was injured in the attack on the first day of the sneak attack against Iran. And so now he is taking his well-deserved revenge. And he announced almost on the first day that he assumed power that Iran's policy is basically from now on an eye for an eye. So whatever is hit in Iran by America and Israel, then it will be tit for tat. And so this was the latest announcement. Iran threatens U.S. tech firms, says for every assassination, one American company will be destroyed. And then they published the list, and that list includes Amazon, which they actually took out Amazon today. They took out Amazon today. They took out IT, what is it, AT&T. AT&T. They took that out today. They have Oracle on the list. They have Microsoft on the list. They have Google on the list. They have Elon Musk, Starlink on the list. All of these big tech companies that Trump, remember, hosted at the White House on his inauguration day. These are the boys that were going to get $500 billion to build their high-tech empire. Palantir's on the list. And Iran says for each and every assassination, he's going to take out one of these companies. Think about what he's saying if you want to monetize that. I mean, he just took out Amazon's headquarters in the Middle East. How much was that worth? How much was that worth? And basically he's saying, hey, that's the value of one of the people that you assassinated. That might be the price that you pay for assassinating one of our generals. I wonder what the price is that they have to pay for assassinating the Ayatollah. Next image, please. See, so that's what we have going on. We have an escalatory situation that is getting out of hand. Now, I don't know if you can read that very well, but what you're looking at is a reverse exodus taking place in Israel. Israel's being battered so bad because their air defense system no longer works. And they've been in shelters underground for weeks, on top of weeks. And now the Israeli settlers who are used to bombing other people, they're being bombed night and day. And so they have a reverse exodus taking place. You know how they say the Jews made an exodus out of Egypt and parted the Red Sea? Well, now these Israelis, they're fleeing into the Sinai Desert in Egypt, and they got to pay $60 to get into Egypt so that they can find a flight to escape what's taking place in Israel. Well, I know what you're saying. Say, well, why don't they just take a flight out of Ben Gurion Airport, the international airport in Israel? Well, because all of the craters in the runway and all the jets that got blown up. I think they hit Ben Gurion Airport last week, and I think they destroyed 73 airliners. El Al Airline, you know, KLM, Lufthansa, American Airlines, United Airlines, all of the big international carriers that you know ferried people in and out of Israel. They lost 73 planes and destroyed the runway. And so now, out of Ben Gurion Airport, which is really the only international airport in Israel, they are flying one flight per hour out of Israel, and only 50 passengers are allowed per flight. So that's why these people are in a panic, running across the burning sands of the Sinai Desert, trying to get out of Israel because there's no way out. There's no way out. They can't get out. So this reminds me, you know, of the Exodus. It's just in reverse. They're trying to get into Egypt for safety. Next image, please. So the population of Israel has been reduced by about 50%. See, if you go back last year, the population of Israel was about 12 million people. If you check now, it's probably down to about 6 or 7 million. So now this is good advice from Colonel Douglas MacArthur. He's a strategic analyst. He's all over YouTube. People interview him all the time. He has great insights as to what takes place. And he has a lot of military knowledge as to what is really possible. And basically, he makes mockery of the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, because he just pretends to know something about military science, whereas the real warriors, you know, call him a big buffoon and a laughing stock. And there's actually a mutiny taking place in the military because Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, he's conducting evangelical prayer meetings, you know, in the Pentagon. Now, Douglas McGregor's advice to the average one of us: buy metals and buy food. Because what's taking place in the world is destroying the monetary system. So your dollars aren't worth anything, as you'll see. One of the great things that has happened is the destruction of the petrodollar. When they talk about the almighty dollar, they're talking about the scheme that Nixon and Kissinger came up with in 1973 when America, 71 or 273, that's when America ran out of gold. That's when America ran out of gold. And so then she had to invent some kind of new currency scheme, and they came up with what they called the petrodollar. Basically, they put a gun to Saudi Arabia's head and said, from now on, you're going to sell your oil in dollars only. And if anybody wants to buy oil in any other currency, we'll deal with them. And if you sell it to them, we'll deal with you. So for the last 50 or so years, the petrodollar is the way that the entire world has had to buy oil from anybody, not just Saudi Arabia. If you wanted to buy Venezuelan oil, you had to use US dollars, which created a huge demand for dollars. Every country had to have enough dollars to pay for the fuel that they needed to run their economy. And so that made the almighty dollar. That was the almighty dollar. Everybody has to have dollars. Otherwise, they can't buy energy. And without energy, you can't have an economy. Well, guess what? As a result of what's taking place right now in the Strait of Hormuz, Iran is saying, well, from now on, if you want to buy oil, you got to use Chinese yuan. You have to use the renminbi. You have to use the Chinese yuan if you want to buy oil. The US dollar will not buy you a drop of oil. You see what that means? See, that's a power move. They have just dethroned the US dollar as the international reserve currency. See, you understand that Persia is where they invented chess. Some say India, but either India or Persia, that they invented chess. People talking about Trump playing 4D chess. Oh, these people must be playing 19th D chess. They just dethroned the US dollar. All of the countries around the world are saying, what do we need dollars for? First of all, we can't buy anything from America. The only thing they want to sell us are weapons and Hollywood for films. That's all they got. And we only had the dollars in the first place in order to buy oil from Saudi Arabia and other oil producing nations. And now Iran just flipped the script. Now we have to dump all of our dollars, and now we have to load up on Chinese yuan. And where does that leave the US dollar? At the bottom of the heap, just like that. That's a judo move. That's a checkmate move. That's the destruction of the American economy. Don't you understand? The dollar has just been toppled. Next image, please. So that's why he's saying buy metals and buy food. Iran strikes secret U.S. base during high-level army meet. So now they have high-level intelligence. Basically, the Iranians have intelligence operatives on the ground all over the place. And of course, they're getting satellite intelligence data from the Russians and the Chinese. So basically, the Iranians know the exact position of every ship, every plane, every tank, every officer, every enlisted man that's on the ground. Yeah, every last one of them. And some of them are hiding out in hotels and other places and civilian residence areas because their military bases have been blown up. Last week, at the start of this, I'm sorry, a month ago, not last week, last month, February the 28th, America had 17 military bases all over this area. Iran was surrounded, 17 military bases. Some of them in Qatar, some of them in UAE, some of them in Dubai, some of them in Bahrain. They had the entire 5th Fleet of the U.S. Navy stationed in Bahrain. Other military bases, huge military base in Jordan, huge military base in Iraq, the biggest military base in the world in Iraq. 17 in total. How many does America have now? A month later. None. All of them have been obliterated. Now, when the Iranians use the word obliterated, they don't mean the same thing as Trump. See, Trump said he obliterated stuff and it didn't stick. But they say out of these 17 U.S. military bases in the area, 13 of them have been totally destroyed, uninhabitable. And all of the equipment, all of the weapons, all of the supplies, all of the fuel, all of the food, everything that was in the base has been destroyed, and they won't disclose how many soldiers and sailors got killed or wounded. And so they ordered the evacuation of all of these military bases. They told the U.S. servicemen, take off your uniform. Take your uniform off and put on civilian clothes. And we got a hotel room for you somewhere where you'll be safe from these Iranian missiles. So essentially, Iran has run America out of the whole area. Let that sink in. America has no more military bases in that part of the world. It should be called West Asia. You find that in the lessons. Why do we want Yakub and his maid devil, across the burning sands, and they use the term West Asia. You see? So that's what part of the world we're in. This is where the devil was run across the burning sands into the hills and cave sides of West Asia, as they now call it Europe. Well, now history is being repeated. We are running these devils over the burning sands out of what they call the Middle East. We're running them out of the root of civilization. When you have a civilization like Persia that's 5,000 years old, almost as old as Egypt, hey, that's the root of civilization. When you're talking about Mecca and Medina and the ancient Arabian civilizations in all of that part of the world, in ancient Kemet and Kush and Punt, and not to mention Ethiopia, hey, that's the root of civilization. And now this enemy devil has crept in and caused trouble among the righteous, causing them to fight and kill one another, telling lies. See, they call lies nowadays, they call that propaganda. They call that the official narrative. But the good old-fashioned word is just a lie. They're just telling lies, causing people to fight and kill one another. And so now Iran just put an end to it. They ran the devil across the burning sands back into the hills and cave sides of Europe. They had 3 aircraft carriers down there, and they put 2 of them on fire. Now, they claimed it was a laundry room fire. Yeah, it ran you 1,000 miles away. And when you docked in Crete, the Greek island of Crete, for repairs to put the fire out, the fire lasted for 30 hours. It burned for 30 hours. What kind of laundry fire burns for 30 hours? No, you got hit by a missile. And then when you got to Crete, then you found out even that wasn't far enough. And so now that aircraft carrier, I think it's the Abraham Lincoln, they're all the way in Croatia now. They had to move all the way to Croatia to be out of range of the Iranian missile fire. And then the other aircraft carrier in the Indian Ocean, they had to move about 1,000 miles away to stay out of range. So in other words, the devil's being run out of the Holy Land. They tried to come back in. And there's only one of them left. And of course, that's the state of Israel itself. And so what we're witnessing is the destruction of Israel, the dismantling of Israel, the settler state set up in 1948 by the United Nations. It's a British Empire project supported by America all of these years with weapons and money. And settler Jews from all over the world come in there like crusaders and have destroyed the indigenous population as much as they could. And of course, we've witnessed the genocide in Gaza for the last 4 years. And now the ongoing genocide in the West Bank. Next image, please. But they're being run out. That's the point. Israel blackout. Iran hits Israel telecom. In other words, the Israeli cell phones don't work anymore. The internet doesn't work anymore. It's a blackout. They're in the dark. They can't communicate. No emails, no phone. They're saying that the reason why you can't get images of the destruction coming out of Israel is because of the strict censorship. Well, that might be partly true, but the other reason is, hey, if your cell phone doesn't work anymore, if your internet doesn't work anymore, if somebody just shot your satellites down, haven't you noticed all these different stories about fireballs falling out of the sky over Ohio? Fireballs falling out of the sky. What do you think those fireballs are? Those are satellites being shot down. Elon Musk's satellites are being shot down because Starlink was being used to attack Iran. They had imported 40,000 Starlink downlink antennas into Iran so that they could communicate with the Mossad and CIA agents on the ground trying to overthrow the government of Iran. You remember we reported all the riots taking place in Iran? That was being mediated by Starlink satellite signals. They were coordinating those attacks, so-called riots, from Starlink. So now the Iranians are shooting down Elon Musk satellites for doing that to us. Retaliation. Next image, please. So Israel's in the dark. It might be censorship. I guess it's a censorship of a sort. Either way you look at it. So Iran says it will attack U.S. tech firms from today. Okay, they're doing it. They just attacked Amazon today. Iran unleashes hell. Sky explodes. Bombs everywhere. Well, what does that tell you? It tells you that the Iron Dome has failed. They are out of missiles. They do not have any interceptor missiles. The Iron Dome has failed. David Sling has failed. And the other one that they have, the THAAD missile system, has failed. They are out of ammunition. You hear me? They ran out of ammunition. They are defenseless. They have no defense against Iranian missiles. They're being slaughtered and there's no way out. The airport is shut down. They can't get out. And to the north, they can't flee to the north because Hezbollah is bombarding them in the north. And the only way out is to the south through the Sinai into Egypt. And they're catching flights trying to get back to Europe and back to America where they came from. Next image, please. And the U.S. tech firms like Palantir that's giving them targeting information, helping them to kill Palestinians. Those firms are being destroyed. And so now there's mutiny taking place within the military. And Marines and sailors, they sabotaging the aircraft carrier. They said the sailors set the fire. I mean, what's worse, getting hit with an Iranian missile or your own sailors setting fire to your own aircraft carrier? Stuffing the toilets with ropes and T-shirts, clogging up the sewage. And they say that whatever the damage was, it's going to take more than a year for those aircraft carriers to be back in service. Well, what does that tell you? It doesn't take a year to fix a laundry fire from lint. So a lot of the military leaders are resigning. They will not obey the illegal orders that Trump is giving. Almost every statement out of his mouth is a violation of international law. And these military officers, they know that if they follow those illegal orders, they could find themselves on trial for committing genocide, for carrying out violations of international law. When he orders them to bomb those fishing boats in the Caribbean or the Pacific or where, those are crimes. And those military officers that carry out those acts, they are culpable. They could be on trial, just like he's going to be on trial if he lives. And so many of the officers, they know that they have a right to disobey any unlawful order. And almost every order that Donald Trump gives is unlawful because he's an outlaw. Next image, please. When did he ever obey the law? Any law. So now they're threatening, we're going to put boots on the ground. We're up to about 10,000 U.S. Marines and Army divisions on their way to Iran. Yeah, lots of luck. Iran got 1 million-man army waiting for you. And that's not counting the civilian militias. This is the organized army. They have a population, 93 million people. So they have 1 million-man army waiting for the U.S. Army to show up. When they tried to frighten the foreign minister, Arachi, of Iran, that we're going to send some troops on the ground, boots on the ground. What do you say to that? He said, we're waiting for you. We're waiting for you. Come on. We got something ready for you. The next image, please. And they do. They do. So 14 left until oil shock hits and Trump tells the UK, get your own oil. That's what he told the Europeans. Send your own warships down here, and take on Iran and try to get some oil because we're good in America. We got all the oil we can use. So y'all get your own oil after I close the straits. See, the oil shock has not yet hit. See what they're talking about here? That's still yet to come. That's in the future. That may be from maybe in the next 7 to 10 days, you're going to really see the oil shock. See, where you're going to see gasoline prices, $8, $10 a gallon. And many countries like the Philippines, South Korea, Japan, whole industries are going to just shut down. Whole economies are going to shut down. And people are going to be desperate because they're going to be unemployed. They're going to be hungry. They won't be able to pay their bills. You see? And so this is not just in one part of the world. What has been ignited is a global conflagration. A global conflagration, if I can say the word. In other words, world war. And everybody's going to be involved because everybody's going to be affected, even you. And you see, if you're paying $8 a gallon at the fuel pump, and diesel tends to be inflated even more than regular gasoline, you see, well, then that's going to inflate the price of food. That's going to inflate the price of everything that has to be transported and what doesn't have to be transported by truck or ship or plane in some fashion, burning some kind of fuel. You see, so that's the oil shock that they're talking about. You think things are bad now. Hey, it hasn't hit yet. Next image. And then it gets worse from there. Because there's no new oil production. If they destroy the ability to produce oil, then it means 20% of the world's oil supply is cut off for years and years and years. Now, Iran kills 200 U.S. commanders in precision strike at one base. Yeah, I think this was in Bahrain, if I'm not mistaken, or UAE. This is where the Fifth Fleet commanders, see, these were the commanders of the Fifth Fleet. Remember, they destroyed the base of the Fifth Fleet, so they were meeting in a secret hiding place. These were all of the commanders. Look, you got thousands of people on these military bases. There's 5,000 sailors on an aircraft carrier. Well, how many commanders do you think you need to handle thousands and tens of thousands of soldiers on this big naval base that was in Bahrain? Well, 200 commanders, high-ranking officers. Didn't they assassinate a lot of Iran's top military people, top generals, military commanders? Okay, but they just paid them back. They just killed 200 American and NATO commanders. And they say some of the commanders were from Ukraine because they were teaching them, the Ukrainians were teaching them how to defend against drones, since they have learned how to defend against drones in their war against Russia further north. And so 200 top level military officers of the U.S. military just got killed in one strike. Wiped out in their secret hiding place that wasn't so secret. Next image, please. Now, how do you replace 200 commanders? Now, this is Sheikh Imran Hussein, and he's all over the YouTube. And he's been predicting a lot of these events for years and years and years. He's made a study of Islamic eschatology. Eschatology is the science or the study of the end times. And of course, we are in the end times. And so I would pay close attention to what he has to say. Now, this particular video here, Iran's war was a war against Gog and Magog. I haven't actually listened to it yet myself, but I intend to. Because who is Gog and Magog if it's not Trump and Netanyahu? If it's not America and Israel, who's Gog and Magog? That sally forth from the north. If it's not America and Israel, that's Gog and Magog. Use your Majuj. Next image, please. So then this is a holy war. You see, this is the war of good against evil. And you have to decide which side you're on. Are you on the side of Gog and Magog, or are you on the side of Iran, the Islamic Republic? So now this is Marco Rubio. He's both the Secretary of State and the National Security Advisor to President Trump. So if you want to know who is giving Trump all this good advice, him. He's the one that's advising Trump. to what to do with foreign policy. So that's why Trump is being so successful, because he's listening to Marco Rubio, the Cuban American, who I think by next week he imagines he'll be the vice governor of Cuba, because they have a blockade against Cuba. Want to let any food, any supplies, no medicine, no fuel oil is allowed into Cuba, except, of course, just today, the Russians sent a tanker full of crude oil into Cuba. And just today, Mexico said, well, if Russia can send a tanker into Cuba, despite the blockade, well, Mexico said we can send a tanker in there too. So as of today, the blockade has been broken that Trump put around Cuba. Now, they're still having hard times down there. Don't get me wrong. It's not whoopee-doo time yet. But the blockade has been broken. And once again, what's that expression they say about Trump? Taco. Trump always chickens out. Yes, yeah. So he chickened out again. Next image, please. And so because Iran controls the Straits of Hormuz, now they are in control. In control of what? The entire world economy. They just switched the entire world off the dollar and told them now you have to be on the Chinese money. Now you got to pay $2 million if you want to transit the Straits of Hormuz. So I forget how much that is per day. They're earning more money from the transit fee through the Strait of Hormuz than they've earned from oil. And the situation got so bad, Trump had to lift the sanctions against oil, even as he's waging war against Iran. But he had to lift the sanctions against Iran. So who's winning the war? Had to lift the sanctions against Russia. So who's winning the war? When the Russians get their sanctions lifted, Iran gets their sanctions lifted. See, that shows you all you got to do is fight the devil. If you just fight him a little bit. I think the Quran says, resist the devil. He's an ever weak opponent. The Bible says the same thing. Resist the devil and he will flee from you. So that's what the Iranians found out. Hey, we resisted the devil. Now we get paid. Every boat that passes here, we get paid $2 million. Hey, that's a big payoff. That's a reward for retaliation against your enemy. And then you humble your enemy and destroy his economy so his money doesn't work anymore. Hey, now this is what they're dealing with. I don't know if this is an actual depiction of the way it really is, but a lot of Iranian society is underground. And they've been building these underground tunnels for centuries. They didn't just get started building tunnels. They've had these things going for centuries. In many parts of the world, there's a large underground network of underground tunnels and caverns, and Iran says they have cities, underground cities. So I think this is an artist's depiction of what that might be like. Multi-levels underground, where they manufacture their weapons that they're using, against Israel and America. Next image, please. So they're in a place where a bunker buster bomb does not affect them. See, America's boasting how many bombs that you dropped. Yeah, but you didn't touch anything. And a lot of what you touched that you thought you touched, hey, it was fake. They painted the image of a helicopter on the ground, like the silhouette of a helicopter, and you think you bombed the helicopter. And it was just spray painted on the ground. So again, there's real damage being done. There's real damage being done. 2 out of 3 aircraft carriers that were sent into the area have had to leave the area in a damaged condition, struck evidently by Iranian missiles. And it is alleged that an Arleigh Burke destroyer, which is of the Aegis class of warships of the American Navy, the top of the line, it is alleged that that one of those destroyers, I forget the name of it, is at the bottom of the Indian Ocean now. Yeah, they destroyed the ship. Now, if they talk about they're going to do a land invasion, Well, how are they going to do it? If all the bases have been obliterated, where are you going to land your plane so you can offload your soldiers so you can do your land invasion? You can't even get close to Iran now. You don't have any bases left in the area. Your base in Saudi Arabia has been destroyed. The base that you had in Bahrain and Dubai has been destroyed. You don't have a base in Iraq anymore. You don't have a base in Jordan anymore. Ben Gurion Airport's destroyed now. Where are you going to land your troops, Mr. Trump? You can't even land them. Next image, please. And you try to come by and see, they're going to be at the bottom of the Persian Gulf. Next image, please. See, so things are not going very well. And so the aircraft carriers, the $13 billion aircraft carrier limping back to Norfolk for repairs that are going to take more than a year, allegedly from a laundry fire. Next image, please. Yeah, Iran claims it forced the U.S. aircraft carrier to retreat, and they did. They had to back off. Matter of fact, more than one. Remember when the F-18s fell off the aircraft carrier? That's because the aircraft carrier had to make such a sudden move to avoid a missile that two of the F-18 jet fighters fell off the deck, and some helicopters too. Next image, please. So in other words, what's the benefit of having an aircraft carrier if you can't get it within 1,000 miles of where you're trying to go? So basically, although Iran does not have, they say, a conventional air force and doesn't have a conventional navy, they're not trying to have a conventional army and navy. This is what you call asymmetric warfare. And they've perfected the art of not intercontinental necessarily ballistic missiles, but ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles that are highly maneuverable and cluster warheads. And so the precision of the Iranian attack missiles from 1,000 miles away, they can hit a target within 1 meter, within 3 feet of what they intended to hit. So that's why if they find out that U.S. servicemen are hiding out in a hotel room, boom, they can go right to that room. And you see them hitting a lot of these high-rise buildings, that's where military people, CIA operatives, spies, Mossad agents, that's where they're hiding out at. Business people who have business dealings, arms dealers, in that area of the world, all of these big tech executives, they can track them. And they have such a precise targeting method that they can just take out people just like that. They've already destroyed the Mossad headquarters in Tel Aviv. They destroyed the headquarters of the IDF. That's like taking out the Pentagon. That's like taking out the Pentagon. They have destroyed Bibi Netanyahu's private residence and bunker. As a matter of fact, has anybody seen Bibi Netanyahu in the last 2 weeks besides those fake videos? Where's the proof of life? I think the man is dead. I haven't seen him. Where has he been seen? Where is he? He's probably dead. Not that they would admit it, because if they admit that Bibi Netanyahu is dead, then what are the senators and congressmen in Washington, D.C. going to do? They won't have anybody to stand up for and give a standing ovation to. So he can't be dead. Although I bet he is. Next image, please. His brother's dead. They say his son got killed too. I don't know about his wife. Now, this is something that happened that is up for debate, because Donald Trump said that they would not strike Iran's nuclear sites or their energy infrastructure. And just after Donald Trump said that, then, of course, Israel did exactly that. And now they're claiming that this strike against Iran's nuclear facilities produced a mushroom cloud. And some people are saying or asking, has Israel used a tactical nuclear weapon against Iran? And if they have, hey, then that takes things to a whole nother level. Next image, please. So what does that look like, a mushroom cloud to you? So now this is kind of a tongue in cheek. You know, many people in the world are actually thankful to see what's taking place. They're thankful to see the destruction of Israel. They're thankful to see the destruction, the demilitarization, de-weaponization of America. I mean, what does it mean when America says we are out of weapons? We are out of Patriot weapons. We are out of Patriot missiles. We are out of THAAD missiles. We do no longer have any intercept missiles. We are out of ammunition. We are out of what was 155 millimeter howitzer shells. We are out of ammunition. We are out of aircraft carriers. We are out of fighter jets. We are out of pilots because 200 pilots just got killed. You see, so the world is thanking Iran for demilitarizing America, defanging America. America is a paper tiger with no teeth because all the teeth have been pulled. Iran has been Israel has been demilitarized. The army is collapsing from the inside. They are out of bullets. They are out of weapons. They are out of missiles. They are out of tanks. Hezbollah just destroyed 100 Merkaba tanks in the last 2 weeks in southern Lebanon. They're out of everything. They're out of oil. They're out of water. They're out of electricity. They cannot survive. And the world says, thank you for destroying Israel. Thank you for destroying America and American power and American influence in the area. Thank you. Next image, please. Yeah, see, now that's a better picture of what they're calling a mushroom cloud. That does look like a mushroom cloud. But now people say that that does not necessarily mean that Israel used a nuclear weapon. But I don't know. Does it rule it out? It looks like a nuclear explosion to me. So now, if that's true, suppose it was a tactical nuclear weapon used by America or Israel against a non-nuclear state. Well, not only is that a violation of international law, but now that crosses a red line that gets China, North Korea, Russia, and all other nuclear states involved. That gets Pakistan involved because Pakistan has the Islamic bomb. So if Israel is willing to use a tactical nuclear bomb against Iran, then what does that say to Egypt? Oh, they'll use it against us. What does that say to Turkey? Oh, they'll use it against us. So everybody is getting the message that whether this was a tactical nuclear weapon or not, or just looked like one, hey, the die has been cast. We have to do what is necessary to eliminate this existential threat to the entire world known as the State of Israel. Next image, please. So they might just get eliminated based on a misunderstanding. They might say, oh, this wasn't a tactical nuclear weapon. Well, it doesn't matter. It looks like one. And for that reason, you have to be eliminated. Next image, please. You shouldn't have made it look like that. You shouldn't have made yourself look like this. You see, the United States has killed 38 million people. In short, Israel and America thrive on bloodthirstiness and crime. It is fascinating how they target civilian areas with heavy and bunker busting bombs and proudly boast about the volume of death and destruction. Well, that's who they are. That's who they are. See, they said they're spreading democracy, right? Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East. Well, you have to understand the true definition of democracy. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said democracy means demon rule. Demon rule. That's what democracy is. And so you're seeing what happens when demons rule. It's a misrule. It's destructive. They don't build anything. All they do is destroy and kill and murder and rob and steal and lie and deceive. And now the whole world understands that what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught all of those years ago, that the white man is the devil. Hey, you're looking at the devil. And who can deny it? Who can deny it? Even they can't deny it. Even they know that they are devils. And I mean, they always knew they were devils, but they used to deny it. But how can they deny it now? Next image, please. That's their right name. That's not being derogatory. That's being accurate. That's who that is. That's the real devil. See, that's the real devil. See, how long has he been lying, talking about Iran is developing nuclear weapons? They say he's been telling that lie for the last 40 years. 40 years ago, he said Iran is 2 weeks away from a nuclear bomb. He said that 40 years ago. Still saying it. And Iran has made it very clear, we have a fatwa against nuclear weapons. We could have them if we wanted them, but we don't want them because it's un-Islamic. But again, this is the liar in chief. Next image, please. And finally, he got his way. He told that lie enough times that finally he got his war. He got what he wanted. Netanyahu says Iran war goals achieved beyond halfway point. Well, I don't know what he means by that. I thought in war it was either you win or you lose. I didn't think it was no half step, but he said they're halfway there. Next image, please. Well, we'll see what the first half didn't seem like it went too well. Let's see what the second half is like. So now many people called Ukraine, which is the other war that's still raging, a money laundering scheme. Now proof just rolled in. Yeah, basically what they were doing, especially under the Biden administration, they allocate all these billions and billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine from the U.S., from European countries. And they send it into Ukraine, which is known to be the most corrupt country on the face of the earth. And has been for centuries. This is nothing new. This is where all the Epstein people come from. This is where Bibi Netanyahu comes from. You see, so that's the most corrupt place on the earth. So basically just start a war and then funnel a whole lot of money, into that area. And most of the money doesn't end up to support the war. Most of the money gets laundered and recycled back to the Democratic Party. So they take U.S. taxpayer money, send it through the corruption in Ukraine, and then ends up in the pockets of people like Nancy Pelosi and other prominent Democrats like Joe Biden. They said Joe Biden was getting 10%. They called him the big guy. Next image, please. So they're doing the same thing, I'm sure, in Israel. A whole lot of money into Israel, gets money laundered and cycled back to certain people on the other side. So what is this? Okay, why don't you skip this? So now there's the commander-in-chief himself. And somebody has seen him in such a condition lately. I think it's Alex Jones and other people. They're saying, he looks like he's on the verge of passing away. Next image, please. Now, I don't know why he would be in such poor health. He's standing there with RFK Jr., the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Why don't he do something? And then there's Dr. Oz. He's in charge of Medicare and Medicaid. So why don't they help the president out if he's in bad health? Well, for the same reason they don't help you out. Is RFK Jr. doing anything to help you? Is Dr. Oz doing anything to help you? No, they're getting ready to cut back all of the medical services in America. Haven't you been paying attention? They're cutting back on Medicaid, cutting back on Medicare. They're cutting back on benefits to people. They're cutting back on medical benefits to veterans. They send them over there to wars and get maimed and blown up and shot up and chewed up, and then they won't even take care of them when they come back. They end up homeless and in poverty, and in terrible shape. And that's why the suicide rate is so high among veterans. After you commit atrocities in foreign nations, you should at least get a reward, and you don't get nothing. Next image. They won't even take care of the commander-in-chief. Isn't that something? The American medical system is broke, just as broke as the financial system, just as ineffective as the military, just as decrepit as American industry. And he's the fitting example of decrepitude. Next image, please. Next image, please. They say he's showing the early signs of dementia. I don't know about how early they are. They look pretty late to me. Now, this article caught my attention because it's right up my alley. You see, this refers to me. Why more doctors are billing their patients like it's the 1920s. So you have to go that far back to find a case where there was a relationship between a patient and that patient's doctor. The sacred doctor-patient relationship, where if I'm your doctor, hey, I take care of you and you pay me. You take care of me. If you don't like the way I'm taking care of you, hey, you can fire me by going somewhere else, you see? And if I don't like you, then I don't have to take care of you, you see? But under these modern managed care systems, I don't have a choice as a doctor. They assigned me 2,000 patients that I don't even know. And I don't have any choice about it. I have to take all of them. And then I have to follow the guidelines of the insurance company because I'm not a doctor anymore. I'm a healthcare provider. I used to be a doctor, but now I'm a healthcare provider. I'm an employee of an insurance company. And you used to be a patient, but you're not a patient anymore. You're a health plan member. So there's no more doctors and there's no more patients. There's only healthcare members and healthcare providers. And so that system is designed for profitability to the shareholders of these big HMO healthcare companies. And they take 15% profit right off the top. And then they use the 85% to deliver 100% of the care. Well, how can you deliver 100% of care with only 85% of the resources? But they have to have their profit, don't they? And then they actually do things with that 85%. They deny care, all kinds of things to garner even more profit. So in the end, they may only spend 50% of the healthcare dollar on actually taking care of the people who are signed up in these healthcare plans. And so that's why doctors who are really sincere about being a doctor, they can't put up with that. And so that's what I had to do. I had to dismiss all the insurances, Medicaid, Medicare. No, you won't come see me, you got to pay me cash. I'm your doctor and you're my patient. I take care of you, you take care of me. It's between you and me. No third parties. No third parties allowed. No third parties allowed. No, I don't take their insurance card. No, You pay me yourself. I take care of you myself. See, so that's the way it used to be. Doctor-patient relationship. It was sacred. It was sacred and it was personal, you see, but it's been supplanted by a corporate system that takes, the art out of the science of healing. Next image, please. And for the sake of profit, not for the sake of health. So now, see, this is very important, and I'm going to do a whole video on this because I'm still working on my virtual website and to be able to deliver healthcare virtually. But now this is telling you that healthcare spending as a percentage of the U.S. gross domestic product. It was only 4% in 1930. Then it became 13.5% by 97. And within recent years, you're talking about 17, almost 18%. $1 out of every $5 is being spent on healthcare, and people are getting sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker. So something is obviously wrong with this picture. Now, here's the point I want you to go away with. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the total amount of money on healthcare is like $51.6 billion. I'll double check that figure. And 15% of it is for Black people in America. So now if you take 15% of that healthcare dollar, see, whatever the actual gross figure is, well, then 15% of that is to be used to take care of us, since we are 15% of the tax-paying population. Now, if we accepted the responsibility of taking care of ourselves, then the responsibility would place that 15% of the healthcare budget in our hands. See, with the responsibility comes the resources. You don't get the resources without accepting the responsibility. So the minute we accept responsibility for our own health care by building our own healthcare system, then we get 15% of the $51 billion or whatever the actual figure is that's being spent every year on healthcare. In other words, we'll get 15% of that dollar that's being spent on healthcare. You see, and that would be enough not only to finance our health, but that would be enough to finance a lot of other things as well to improve the quality of our life. Because health is not just about, surgery and drugs and things like that. No, health is about the quality of life. I have come to give you life and life more abundantly. That has to do with the quality of your life, not just that you have life. Next image, please. So this is an area of responsibility that we have to take up, and we get rewarded when we take up responsibility because there's resources already allocated in that area. You don't have to do any fundraising. There's already money set aside in that area. All you have to do is accept the responsibility in that area. Accept your defeat or be annihilated. You see, this is what the message that's coming out of Iran. Trump is saying, "Oh, we're in negotiations, we're in talks, we're close to a deal." Well, this is the deal. This is the deal. Accept your defeat or be annihilated. The longer you stay, the more you're going to suffer defeat and death. So the quicker you evacuate all your troops, you got 50,000 troops in this area, get them all out. See, that's how you acknowledge that you have been defeated. All your troops are gone. No more hiding out in hotels, in underground bunkers. No, you gone. And the same thing with Israel. Hey, get on a boat, get on a plane, whatever you got, and get the hell out of here. Go back to Europe. Like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, go back to Europe. Because we're going to establish peace in the Holy Land. And if we have to kill every last peace breaker to do it, then we're going to do it. So we're giving you fair warning, get out now. Because we're not playing. Accept your defeat or be annihilated. Next image, please. See, that's what time it is. Now I need to look more into this. Apparently there was a vote on reparations and designating the African slave trade into America as one of the worst crimes in the history of humanity. And I think all of the nations except 3 voted in favor of that, saying that, yes, the African slave trade was a terrible crime against humanity. Now, I don't have the details of exactly what the language was, but all of the nations of the world except America, Israel, and I think Argentina, all of them, they voted no. So basically, according to Donald Trump, the enslavement of African Americans' ancestors was not a crime. Next image, please. He didn't see anything wrong with it. Now, this is what's people that you might call conspiracy theorists. See, this is the buzz among them. They're saying that Iran could strike inside of America. They noticed that every time that, say, like an oil refinery got struck in Iran, then you had an oil refinery that caught on fire, say, like last week, Valero refinery down there in Port Arthur, Texas, right after they struck oil refinery in Tehran. Then the oil refinery in Texas goes up. They struck a chemical plant in Tehran, and then all of a sudden a chemical plant goes up in Oregon. So a lot of these conspiracy theorists, they're a bunch of nuts. All of them a bunch of nuts. They don't know what they're talking about. But they're warning that Iran will attack the United States tonight. That's what some of them are saying. They mean tonight, or April the 1st. They mean tonight. That something might happen tonight. But these are nuts. These are conspiracy theorists. They don't know what they're talking about. Next image, please. Plus, the Secretary of War would protect us, right? America got an Iron Dome, right? Don't America have an Iron Dome? Don't they? And you have a bomb shelter, right? Right down, don't you? Right down the street, right? You know where your bomb shelter is, right? Don't you? Sure you do. Because the government takes care of you, right? And if they knew that Iran was getting ready to attack, wouldn't they tell you? Yeah, they would tell you. Now, this is from redacted. You see, income taxes are illegal and Americans should revolt. Yeah, a lot of people say that. They say that the income tax is unconstitutional. It's not in the Constitution, that Americans should not be taxed. Well, I know the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the black man should be exempt from taxes. I know that. He said that. So I would tend to agree with that. I don't know much about it. I'm not a lawyer, but I would tend to agree that we should not be taxed, and then our tax money be sent to places like Ukraine to corrupt politicians, or worse yet, our tax dollars be used to buy bombs and missiles and planes to kill innocent people. After all, if America killed 38 million people, who paid for that? The American taxpayers. And I think a little bit of that guilt about killing 38 million people, that probably rubs off on every single taxpayer. Because I bet some of that money that you sent to the IRS, I bet they use that money to kill innocent men, women, and children. So some of that guilt has to rub off on the taxpayers. So maybe the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was on to something when he said that we should be exempt, because being exempt from taxes in America might also exempt you from the wrath of Allah. You might get chastised because you bought so many missiles and bombs that killed people with your tax dollars. Next image, please. You might be guiltier than you think. Look at this. People say he's a conspiracy theorist again. They said just because a whole bunch of black birds swarmed over Israel the other day, they said just because all these black birds, starlings, crows, were wreaking havoc in the skies all over Israel, people took that as like a bad sign. Like that's a bad omen, like something bad is getting ready to happen. How could something bad like that happen to Israel? You see how superstitious people are just because a whole bunch of black birds started flocking all over the place out of nowhere. Next image, please. Like that's a sign or something. That ain't no sign of nothing. That's just some birds having fun, right? Next image, please. That couldn't be a sign, could it? I know there was a hadith where the birds dropped stones on the enemy. I know. But that was dead, right? These birds are not like that. These birds didn't have no stones, did they? So now this was a funny cartoon that somebody came up because Trump keeps insisting that talks are going on. He's having high-level talks with secret Iranian leaders. Yeah, since they had a regime change in Iran, now he's talking with secret Iranian leaders. And so the psychiatrist wants to know, are these people in the room with us right now? Because nobody else seems to know who Trump is talking to. But he certainly hears something in his head. So that, I guess they call that hallucinations, auditory hallucinations, hearing voices. Next image, please. Maybe he needs a checkup from the neck up. See, this is the plain headline. American troops forced to withdraw from Middle East bases, all 17 of them. Last month, there were 50,000 U.S. military personnel in this area causing trouble. Now, they've all been driven out. They don't exist there anymore. So Jordan is now free. Saudi Arabia is now free. Dubai is free. Bahrain is free. Abu Dhabi, the United Arab Emirates, they are now free. They have been liberated by Iran. The Yankee devil has been driven out, and he can't come back in. And they have taken control of the oil resource. And it's not just oil. They've taken control of the water. They've taken control of the urea that is used to make fertilizer. They've taken control of the helium that comes out of that area that's used to make microchips. And these are all of the essential elements that are the foundation of the world economy. And now it's all in the control of Iran, in the control of Persia. This is the reemergence of Persia as an empire. They were always a world ruling power. So along with the reemergence of China, these are not just countries. See, when you talk about America, you're talking about a country. You're talking about a nation. It's not a civilization, as you can see. But when you talk about Iran, yeah, you can think about it like a country, but Iran is a civilization. You can think of China, if you want to, like a country, but it's more than a country, it's a civilization. India is a civilization. So is there anything called Western civilization? Is there anything called European civilization? They asked Gandhi about that one time. They asked Gandhi, said, what do you think about Western civilization? He said, well, it sounds like a good idea if they would like to try it. And of course, they haven't tried it yet. So all you see out of Europeans and European Americans is savagery, caveman diplomacy. You see? No civilization whatsoever, no refinement. And of course, they're barbarians like all barbarians. When they encounter civilized people, they become very destructive. They become enraged at your civilization. And so that's what they want to do in Iran, really, is to bomb it into smithereens to destroy the evidence that there once was a civilization there. Because they don't have one. Next image, please. So America has been forced out of the Middle East. They have suffered a humiliating defeat. And they're just trying to cover their tracks and make it seem like what it's not. No, you just got ran out of the Middle East. The British came into the Middle East 100 years ago. And we talked about that in the past, how the British came in with General Allenby and conquered Jerusalem, took over Mecca and Medina. Okay, well, that was 100 years ago. Okay, so now the British, the Americans, and their Zionist puppets, they are being either run out or they're being destroyed if they stay. So this is an epic moment in history that we are witnessing. We are witnessing the changing of the guard. We are witnessing the defeat of the wicked. Now, this is something somebody brought to my attention. 1,000 white coats on the hill. So on April the 15th, a lot of healthcare providers, doctors, and others are going to be demonstrating here in Washington against genocide. Doctors Against Genocide. Well, it's kind of late, but at least they're standing up. So support them if you can. Pass this around because a lot of doctors may not even know that this is taking place, and they can vent some of their frustration that they naturally have at this event. Next image, please. You can find out who the good guys are. Everybody in a white coat ain't a good guy, as you know.
Yeah, I believe this is the last one.
Okay, all right. So what time is it? It's about 21 after 8. So let's take a few minutes. I think that's all that I wanted to present. There's more that could be said and should be said. Now in about 40 minutes, the commander-in-chief himself, Donald J. Trump, he's going to be on TV talking to the American people. He has a message for the American people. And so ready or not, here he comes. So until that time, let's take a few minutes. If there's some hands up in the chat room or wherever you might be, maybe you have a comment or question before we end tonight's broadcast. And remember, if you're on YouTube, don't forget to like and share and subscribe. I'm up to about 1,700 subscribers, up from 300 in just a couple of months. So let's go for 2,000, by the end of April. So do you have any hands up?
You have one hand up. I don't know who it is. It's
Okay.
704 number. 622. State your name.
From Laker family.
Walaikum salam.
Brother Daoud Chief. From Laker Chief. From Laker Daoud.
Walaikum salam.
I got a question, of course, always. I was just thinking, man, I've been following this thing close, and Iran is doing extremely well with their attack. And I know, Doc, you said that these are the people that created chess.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me. These people created chess. So I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm just playing that, replaying it, and chewing over that. I mean, the Americans, it reminds me of Colin Powell. When Colin Powell went before the public and before Congress and said Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, and they didn't. So I'm thinking, was the same thing done to Trump, Doc? And also, along with the blackmail, they had his feet to the fire that forced him, because all of the presidents, as you said, prior to him, Biden, Obama, they couldn't somehow or another, they didn't want it, they heeded the military advice, the military, the brass advice not to do this, don't do it. But somehow, some way, it just seemed like, in addition to President Trump being fed false intelligence, it seemed like they got something else that's grabbing him and squeezing and choking him into submission. I just wanted to know your thoughts on that real quick.
Well, I mean, a lot of people are speculating about his mental health and whether or not he's been bamboozled by the likes of Bibi Netanyahu. And frankly, I don't know. But if you just examine the facts about the man himself, I don't see that he needed to be bamboozled by Bibi Netanyahu. He converted to Judaism in 2017. His religious, what would you call it? His religious teacher or guide is Menachem Schneerson from Flatbush, Brooklyn, the Shabbat sect of Orthodox Judaism. So that's the same sect of Judaism that Bibi Netanyahu belongs to. So they're fellow believers. It's not like Bibi Netanyahu had to convince him to do what he's doing. They're on the same team. That's Gog and Magog. And sure, sometimes, they play good cop, bad cop routines with one another, pretend like they are having a dispute or disagreement. But they're following the same script, the same mission. See, I think people try to say, well, this is the tail wagging the dog. Well, it's all one dog. I mean, you can say it's the tail wagging the dog. More likely, it's the dog wagging the tail. What's the difference? It's not like the tail is separate from the dog or the dog is separate from the tail. So these are just foolish arguments that people make. And essentially, if you say, what was the origin of Israel? It was the creation of the British, where Lord Balfour wrote a letter to Lord Rothschild. Then with the money from the British Empire, especially the Bank of England, Lord Rothschild went and started buying up all as much property in Palestine as he could. Then, of course, on the other branch of the family, the Rockefellers, they bought up a part of Manhattan on which to build the UN building. So now they have a patch of land in Jerusalem bought by the Rothschilds. They got a patch of land in New York bought by the Rockefellers. They erect the United Nations. And the first thing the United Nations does is they declare the creation of the state of Israel. And all of the nations of the earth, vote to create this artificial country in the midst of another people. So if you say who's responsible for all of the death and the carnage since that time, it's the entire world, the entire United Nations. You see, so what are we looking at? We are looking at the unfolding of a campaign of conquest that ultimately is headquartered in London, but is being carried out by, you could say, the proxies armies of London, of the British Empire, led by the Knight Commander himself, Donald Trump. So the proxies of Britain are, and that includes Israel, they're down on the ground fighting the indigenous people, just like the British fought the indigenous people in America with the American colonies 250 years ago. So they're just doing to the Middle East what they did all over the rest of the world. They send in mercenary armies. America is a mercenary army. Israel is a mercenary army. There's just two divisions of the same army under the command of King Charles III in London. He wants to occupy Jerusalem for real. That's one of his royal titles. He's the King of Jerusalem. But before he can do that, he has to conquer the indigenous people, slaughter them, make it safe for him to come in and take the throne. And of course, by that time, they will have rebuilt the third temple of Solomon so he can sit in the seat of Solomon. So on a deeper level, that's what this is all about. So, it's not like Israel's doing something to spite America or America's doing something to spite it. No, it's all the same thing. It's Gog and Magog. So I mean, it's really complex. It's really complex, and it takes some research to really understand it. But the defeat of Israel, you see, the defeat of Israel as we're witnessing it at the hands of Iran, simultaneously is the defeat of America. America's defeated. The dollar's dead. You haven't felt the ramifications of that yet. It hasn't hit you yet. What it means to lose the international reserve currency status, you have just lost that. And that is what has protected your way of life and the quality of life that you have enjoyed for the last 50 or 60 years. That's why food in America is cheap. That's why energy's been cheap. That's why you can afford all these luxuries and things that you see in America that you don't see in any other country. It was the luxury, they have a term for it too, the exorbitant privilege. They call being the reserve currency of the world, they call that the exorbitant privilege. And America has enjoyed an exorbitant privilege because, look, when any other country needs to buy oil and they have to use dollars, guess what they have to do? They actually have to go to work. They actually have to produce something of value that they can put on the market in exchange for the dollars that they need. They actually have to be productive. What does America have to do when America has to pay her debts or her accounts deficit? Just turn on the printing press. Just turn on the printing press and give Japan some paper dollars in exchange for Toyotas. Oh, China, here's some paper dollars in exchange for the computers and the electronics that you sent to us. They just printed it in the basement. So now, going forward, now that the dollar has lost its international reserve currency status, guess what Americans will have to do if they want to buy something on the world market? You won't be able just to print money. You actually have to produce something in exchange for what you want. So see, that knocks Americans down a peg or two. Now your flat feet are on the ground, equal with everybody else. Now you got to go to work again in competition with all of the other nations on the face of the earth. And guess what? In the last 50 or 60 years, you become so fat, lazy, and dumb, you can't compete with anybody. So this is the destruction, not just of Israel. This is the literal fall of America. So last night I said, I don't think Israel will last a month. I think by this time next month, the nation of Israel will cease to exist. And next time, and this time next year, it might be true for America. The nation that you have known as America will no longer exist. How can she under these circumstances? So is there anyone else with a hand up? Or
Yeah, one more question.
and then we'll close it out because the commander-in-chief, the night commander himself, he's going to be talking to the American people to let you know what's up.
That's right. This one comes from Brother Carlton.
Brother Carlton.
Yes, this question. On the 9 ministries in dialogue, do we intend to have a dialogue to the run up of the July 4th big meeting? We surely need to, don't you think, Doc?
Oh yes. I mean, we've talked about that. I think in case people didn't hear the question on YouTube, is will we have some events as a run up to the proposed deliberative dialogue Congress that I'm proposing for July the 4th? And I would say the answer should be yes. We should have a lot of practice sessions, leading up to that. We should tackle some of the questions that are on people's minds right now, but we should also, of course, refer to the questions that are in the workbook that were specifically designed to, lead to the development of the 9 ministries. So yes, Brother Carlton. And I'm asking people, submit topics that you think are relevant. You see, the workbook was written more than 20 years ago. But there may be some issues that have come up since that time that need to be brought forward. So send in your suggestions for topics. And then in July, you see, we should have a pretty full agenda. There might be 10 or 12 major issues. And when we say a Congress, we're talking about maybe a week-long or 10-day event, because you can't be in a hurry when you're dealing with such important issues, because ultimately it's going to determine what happens to us as a people in the future, whether we're going to live or die, whether we're going to survive or thrive. So that was pretty quick. Let's take one more, if there is one more.
I don't see any. I can't see the Facebook, but I don't see any more.
Okay. I'm looking here on YouTube to see if I see anything, but if not, I want to thank everyone for being with us. Somebody says the U.S. government is projected to spend over $3 billion on federal health care programs. Oh, it's more than that. It's much more than that. Okay. All right. I don't see any other questions. So I want to thank everyone for being with us. This is the 19th element. Keeping in mind, the 19th element is that part of you that is above the brow. The best part of you starts right here and goes up. And the worst part of you, is below that. So the 19th element is always above the brow and never below the belt. We try to tell it the way TI is. We try to deal with relevant issues that affect your and my life. It's the second part of the survival show. The first part being the Your Immunity Project on Tuesdays, where we deal with health issues and things of that nature. But on Wednesdays, we deal with the war and peace, strategic, economic issues that affect everybody everywhere. So thanks for being with us. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to subscribe and be with us on Sunday and Monday with prayer and fasting. And we're going to take up some of these topics, in a lengthy way. Usually on Sundays, I give a lecture. And then that's followed up by Monday with questions that came up as a result of the lecture that was given the previous day. So thanks once again for being with us. This has been the 19th Element. And I thank you, Chief, for taking time out of your busy schedule to be our special guest host for this evening. And we're looking forward to Sister Cheryl and Sister Amira being with us in the future. So may Allah bless all of us and keep us safe and sound, protect us, guide us, have mercy on us, forgive us. I hope Allah doesn't punish us if we forget or make a mistake, but I hope He guides us on His straight path into His paradise and grants us success and prosperity and victory over the disbelieving people. And so this I ask of Allah in the person of Master Fawad Muhammad, in the name of his messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Beautiful, beautiful, Doc. Beautiful. All praises be to Allah. So let us just close out in prayer. Bow your heads. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Rahmanirrahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Ameen. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Walaikum salam.